Valentine's Day. Upon returning to Hip Forest University from winter break, I met a woman named Karen. I had met her sister before, and we had shared interesting conversations, so when I ran into the both of them on campus, it was the perfect way to be introduced. Karen was beautiful, no doubt about it, resembling some kind of real-life fairy, sprite goddess. When we made eye contact, it was sustained long enough to convey something extra. It was the classic love at first sight phenomenon, where the next 48 hours were consumed by a deep longing to see her again. I found her on Facebook and shamelessly added her, despite only having shared one official conversation. She was as receptive as anyone could ever ask for, and accepted my invitation to have her over to my room for tea and green power. I made it clear to Andreas that he better get the fuck out of the room shortly after she arrived. This could be a huge moment for us, and I wasn't going to let him turn it into a basic hangout with the limitations of a third wheel. She came on over, and we sat next to each other on the edge of my bed, while Andreas prepared to head out, the three of us sharing playful conversation loaded with jokes. Once Andreas was about on his way out, I prepared jasmine tea for us, and we each took small amounts of green power. The conversation was naturally romantic, so much so that I fell into grandiosity about our connection being fated. I might have came on a little too strong, but it worked, and we shared a period of kissing, though she cut it off before it could go anywhere else. It was an amazing feeling to meet someone and have such an immediate magical connection like that. The following weeks, my obsession with Karen strengthened, and I deemed myself practically under her spell. I needed to go all the way with her. We were in college for great unknown's sake. Each time we got together, however, she gave me only small doses, and I got impatient. I couldn't understand what about our connection wasn't enough yet. I understood a freshman wanting to take one's time and to keep his or her options open, but didn't Karen and I have something? I thought we did, or at least I wanted us to. I had to have her over again. The previous time I hosted her at my place, she left telling me she'd have sex with me the next time we hung out. I told her it was fine either way, and that I didn't want her to feel like she had to do anything. As we got into things that next time she came over, we got to the point where we ought to make a decision about whether we were to go further. As I made my way up from her lower half, she pulled away and told me that she had to go hang out with her friends, and that she was sorry that she forgot she had to go do that. It was an obvious lie, of course, because she had just arrived at my place as her plan. We had just entered our realm of love, but she clearly wasn't ready for the full mile. I was disappointed and felt quite rejected, but I knew patience was the way. I came to learn later that she was a virgin and had only ever had one boyfriend, having grown up in a rural school system of only 10 kids to her class. So that was my luck, picking to fall for someone romantically who had virtually no relationship experience. Time went on, and she told me she needed space. She proceeded to ignore my texts and totally cut me off. I couldn't believe it. How much of this was my fault? I decided I couldn't show her how profoundly hurt I was, though, and just had to move on. This must have been the second to last week of January, because I didn't see or talk to Karen again until Valentine's Day. Earlier that day, Andreas and I decided to connect to DSL together for the afternoon, to have a badass time playing video games and jamming out in the dorm's practice room. Additionally, we knew that there was a music event happening downtown later that would be perfect for the DSL come down. The event also happened to be a fundraiser that Karen was involved with, so we figured we might even get lucky with her and her friends just by being around. Andreas was interested in one of Karen's friends, so it was the perfect plan. We had a hell of a time finding the place, our usual stomping grounds defamiliarized by the connection. The DSL was kind, but still a bit tricky. We got scared that we would enter the wrong building, as if that could easily happen, but our will to succeed brought us to the right location. It was an intimate gathering of young bands with few people there, so Karen and I made eye contact immediately. She smiled her usual intoxicating, sweet smile, and I knew that she wasn't mad at me. Andreas and I were confused why no one was dancing to the music, which was actually really fun to dance to. With not much to lose at this point, and everything to gain, we jumped out to front of the stage and both performed eccentric dance movements. This probably made us look stupid, but it also added a noticeable spark to the room and gave favourable energy to the musicians. After dancing for a song, we stepped back, exhilarated by putting ourselves out there. "We liked it better when you were up here," the front man shouted to us. We laughed, but were too tired to do it again, and needed water, as we were dehydrated by the DSL connection. We started dancing again, and somehow I ended up grabbing Karen's hand and danced with her, leading her into twirls and other moves I was completely unsure of how to execute. It made for a romantic moment though, and I got my hopes up again. Maybe she was admiring my bravery, my boldness, my stupidity. We ended up on a couch in the lobby of the showroom. I mentioned that my back had been bothering me, and Karen immediately started giving me a back massage. It turned into an awkward moment for Andreas and her friends who, like me, were unsure of where this was going, especially since Karen had essentially cut things off between us. We separated groups for a second, and Andreas and I decided that we should offer to take Karen and her friend to get some food, not necessarily a Valentine's date, but just for fun. So we proposed such, but they politely declined, saying that they were tired after the long night. It was all so confusing. I'm aware of how entitled it sounds, but Andreas and I really didn't understand. It was Valentine's Day. We were two fairly attractive upperclassmen. We were both getting excellent vibes, but still not the exact ones we wanted. In the end, though, we were happy to have had a fun DSL-fueled day, and understood that we needed to move on to other love interests. These girls were moving at their own pace, and we had to respect that. Immaturely, at the time, I felt doomed to be tantalized by a simple lack of affectionate return, as if the whole universe wasn't fair, because the young, attractive girl I felt most attracted to just wasn't the right match. Call us a couple of butt-hurt horn dogs, but I invite you to ask yourself how you'd expect one to feel, given all the details. How would you feel if you were rejected by someone who seemed so potently right for you, and on the day of love no less?